All right, everybody, welcome to the Otherppl Show, a weekly podcast featuring in-depth conversations with today's leading writers. It's a books and culture show, and I am your host, Brad Listi. Thanks for being here. This is my podcast. It is Saturday, and I'm going to be doing another episode of this new series on the program that I started just last week. It's called Storytime, and it will feature an author reading aloud from her work. In today's episode, you will be hearing from Ellen Huet. She recently guested on this program. I talked to her at length about her new book. It is called Empire of Orgasm: Sex, Power, and the Downfall of a Wellness Cult. It's a work of nonfiction available from MCD Books. It's a riveting story about a San Francisco-based wellness cult. Things got weird, and you're going to hear Ellen introduce the excerpt that she is about to read. She'll give you a kind of overview of the book, and you can hear a bit of it in her voice. So, without any further ado, here is Ellen Huet talking about her book and then reading from her book.
Hi, my name is Ellen Huet, and this is an excerpt from Empire of Orgasm, which is about the rise and fall of an alleged sex cult called One Taste, which taught a practice called orgasmic meditation. And it's available now from MCD Books, part of FSG. I'll be reading an excerpt from the beginning of the book. Prologue. Sensation. Everyone was seated, waiting for Nicole Daedone to enter the room and show them a new kind of orgasm. Only a few dozen people had been selected to attend the event, held in the sumptuous library of an oceanside home north of San Francisco. The spectators sat silently in their chairs, all angled toward a massage table draped with a burgundy sheet. A man named Rob stood at the front of the room. With a placid smile, he informed the audience that they were about to witness an hour-long demonstration, during which they were encouraged to speak out loud whatever sensations they felt in their body. He offered some examples. I feel hot, buzzy, nervous energy in my midriff, and up and down my body I feel chills. I feel sleepy. I feel annoyed. All reactions were welcome, he said. This gathering had one purpose. This is sensation, he said. What we do, what we research, what we are. Finally, it was time for Nicole. Music started to play over the speakers, a slow, warm, shimmering melody with sounds of a sitar. Chairs creaked as the audience twisted around to look back toward the door. Nicole glided down the center aisle like a bride. When she reached the front of the room, an assistant slipped her silky robe off her shoulders. Nicole stood naked in front of the audience, taking it all in. She was smiling faintly, with her lips resting together, like Botticelli's Venus, but with flat-ironed, gold-highlighted hair. She was 40 years old. At first, Nicole remained still, gazing straight ahead with a serene face. But as the anticipation in the room built, she began to shake slightly. Her body shuddered and vibrated. Then she broke her pose, drifted over to the massage table, and lay down. Her head pointed away from the audience and her legs toward it, as though all the guests had crowded near the foot of her bed. She spread her knees apart with the soles of her feet almost touching each other, a position she called legs butterflied open. It left little to the imagination. Another man approached the table, Josh. He was bald, short, and sturdy, wearing a black dress shirt with buttoned cuffs. He exhaled into his cupped hands and rubbed his palms together. He dabbed lube onto his finger. The music in the background swelled. As he arranged his hands into position, his right nestled under her buttocks and the heel of his left pressing on her pubic mound, Nicole began to quiver. Eyes closed, mouth open, brow furrowed, she raised her head slightly from the table and twitched. The moment his finger first touched her clitoris, the audience sighed audibly together. For the next hour, Josh stroked Nicole, who moaned, writhed, and bucked. The soundtrack accelerated from ethereal tones to thumping drum beats. The stroking shifted from hard rubs to softer ones and back, while Nicole laughed and cried, sometimes simultaneously. At peak moments, she stretched her hands out to her side, fingers splayed, muscles and skin taut. Nicole seemed to be levitating to another planet, and the audience members felt themselves pulled skyward in her wake. Every minute or so, as instructed, someone declared their sensations to the room. Heat on my upper arms, relaxation in my chest. Those in the room seemed to understand that an explicitly sexual observation would break the spell. Instead, they kept their commentary suggestive. Vibration in the back of my legs, salivation in my mouth. Josh, the stroker, was sweating. His right thumb burrowed into her vagina. Nicole's body kept undulating, her eyes flickering and rolling back in her head. Ah, she breathed, suspended somewhere between ecstatic and possessed. At one point, Nicole's assistant, Raheli, walked to the front of the room and stood by Nicole's bent left leg. As the music pulsed on, Raheli beckoned audience members, one by one, to stand next to her and experience the scene up close. Each person looked past Josh's hunched shoulders to gaze at Nicole's face, while Raheli guided their hands to touch Nicole's thigh. They reached toward her leg reverently, and when they made contact with her skin, some of them shuddered and gasped. Nicole continued moaning, now with a knowing smile. 2 video cameras set up on tripods at the back of the room captured the demo. In the footage, Nicole's body shook and her face contorted. It seemed like some potent sexual life force was electrifying the room, and Nicole was channeling it through her body and out her mouth, fingertips, feet, and bare skin. Her sensational performance suggested a tantalizing promise that Nicole held special knowledge and that she could share it with those who dedicated themselves to her and her practice. The music slowed. Nicole sighed long, low exhales as Josh cupped his hands over her pubic bone and pressed down, ostensibly to calm her body with firm touch. A few moments later, Josh pulled back and adjusted his sleeve. Its cuff was wet and shiny. He hoisted Nicole up to a seated position. Her face was flushed and happy, as though she had just awakened from a heavenly dream. She gazed out and blinked. Then she exhaled slowly through her mouth, her lips curling up at the corners. This was orgasmic meditation, and Nicole, the woman in agony and ecstasy on the massage table, was on a mission to spread the practice to the world. She had popularized the term orgasmic meditation, or OM, pronounced OM, and founded a company called One Taste to teach students how this partnered clitoral stroking technique could transform their lives. Nicole envisioned a future where the study of female orgasm was as widespread and as celebrated as yoga and meditation, a future where all women had access to pleasure via the practice. In her mind, OM would one day be popular enough that One Taste could fill a football stadium with thousands of strokers and strokies for a simultaneous group OM, each pair beside the next. Nicole's OM demo took place in 2008, a promising time to pitch orgasmic meditation to the world. Wellness was quickly expanding into a $4 trillion industry. Americans had been drifting away from church and organized religion for decades, and more of them were starting to distrust doctors and scientists when it came to their health. Instead, they looked to soothe their souls and bodies with holistic, spiritual, and often commercial alternatives like core power yoga, probiotic-packed kombucha, and weekend meditation retreats. In September that year, the actor Gwyneth Paltrow launched Goop as a newsletter with the slogan, "Nourish your inner aspect." The weekly publication would quickly become a trend-defining media business, and Paltrow successfully cast herself in a new role as the queen of wellness products and alternative therapies. Nicole had also picked the ideal place to start her movement. For decades, San Francisco had incubated a culture of dreamers and seekers, spanning from the 1967 Summer of Love through New Age utopian establishments in the 1970s and 80s. Along the cliffs of nearby Big Sur, the Esalen Institute gave rise to the Human Potential Movement. And in 1971, San Francisco became the birthplace of Werner Erhard's Est, a popular series of personal transformation courses that created an enduring lineage of gurus and teachers. By the late 2000s, that vision of a thriving humanity had taken on a more relentless capitalistic tone. The tech industry was about to enter a decade-long digital gold rush, during which masses of workers migrated to San Francisco with wads of money to spend. Many of them were too young to remember the dot-com crash, and they were flush with rosy determination to live life better. Bodies shouldn't just be healed, they should be optimized and tracked by a device strapped to a wrist. Meditation became a way to achieve more and climb higher, more happiness, sharper focus, and a shrewder intuition. If you felt lonely or adrift, there was a solution for that, too, from the many purveyors in the personal transformation industry. You could walk across hot coals at one of Tony Robbins' bombastic, megachurch-esque courses, or rewrite your life story at the Landmark Forum, which spun out of Est seminars. Swipe your credit card for a $5,000 workshop, and you could shake up your life and break free of whatever is holding you back. In this world, courses could be wildly expensive, sometimes costing tens of thousands of dollars. But often the rationale was that the course material could be life-changing, and that charging a high price ensured students would value it seriously. Orgasmic meditation promised something deeply attractive to these restless strivers. This sexual mindfulness technique, which usually only lasted 15 minutes, was supposedly a simple hack to happiness, sexual fulfillment, and connection. For the first few years of its existence, One Taste had been spinning its wheels despite Nicole's effort to push it into the public eye. But right after this 2008 demo by the sea, its luck would improve. The New York Times would feature the company in a splashy spread about its radical, female-focused pleasure teachings, and Nicole's star would rise. One Taste would open centers across the country, then internationally. Within a couple of years, Nicole would publish a book with a major publishing house and speak on conference stages about orgasmic meditation. She would persuade smart, skeptical people to shed their pants for the sake of their spiritual enlightenment. One of Nicole's most famous speeches, a 2011 TEDx talk in San Francisco, has been viewed on YouTube more than 2 million times. As she strides across the stage, she looks completely at ease. Her topic is risque, she acknowledges, but she waves away the tension with a breezy laugh. She's tall and slim, with hair hanging in sculpted waves, and dressed like a lecturer at a business school, a black pantsuit and a satiny purple shirt. She recounts the story of her first Om, when she got naked from the waist down with a stranger and allowed him to stroke her clitoris. She calls herself a skeptic and an academic. I really don't like anything woo-woo, she says. But after that experience of Om, I had tasted a truth that was so undeniable, I had to bring it to the world. She considers herself a philanthropist in this regard. If the audience is wondering, who is this person? She seems to be reassuring them, I'm a rational, modern woman looking for answers to the big questions in my life. I'm normal, just like you. Those curious about Nicole's motives could find a few clues in that New York Times article from 3 years before. In the piece, Nicole emerges as a sophisticated visionary, leading a small but devoted following toward a sexual revolution. Nicole, the reporters observe, could quote the poet Mary Oliver and speak wryly on the intricacies of women's anatomy with equal aplomb. Nicole proclaimed that her teachings connected with women's liberation. I don't think women will really experience freedom until they own their sexuality, she said. The Times article captured Nicole's image of a blazered, business-oriented orgasm philanthropist. But underneath, another version of her peeked out. Nicole as a manipulator who wielded charm and control. Her influence, some people said, could overpower those around her. There was always a pushing of people's boundaries, one of Nicole's followers was quoted as saying. An ex-student warned that Nicole fostered an environment in which she became the sole source of truth. You stop trusting yourself and start trusting Nicole, they said. Nicole told the reporters that one-taste students sometimes treated her like a guru. When she lived in a communal residence with them, they would crowd around her bed in the mornings, waiting to hear her speak. She said that she wanted to avoid amassing too much sway over her followers. She seemed to know what danger lay ahead. There's a high potential for this to be a cult, she said.
All right, folks, there we have it. That was Ellen Huet reading from her new book. It is called Empire of Orgasm, Sex, Power, and the Downfall of a Wellness Cult, available now from MCD Books. You can listen to my conversation with Ellen on a recent episode of this show just a couple of weeks ago. You can check out her website, ellenhewitt.com, and you can follow her on Instagram and Blue Sky. One more time, the new book is called Empire of Orgasm. You just heard an excerpt from the book. If you like cult stories, you're going to love this book. Check it out. Don't forget to subscribe to this show wherever you listen. Hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky. You can sign up for my newsletter over at bradlisti.substack.com. And if you love this show, if you listen regularly, you can support this show at patreon.com/otherpplpod. If you want to get an Other People book club membership, that's my book club. Or if you want to get some Other People apparel, a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, you can do that at otherppl.com. If you want to get some great writing courses, check out Deep Dive. That is my new company. The website is www.deepdive.audio. The holiday sale is underway. You can save 40% on everything with the offer code CHEERS40. Finally, if you have 2 minutes, please rate and review this show wherever you listen. It helps the show find new listeners. All right? So a new episode should be coming up tomorrow, an interview with an author on Sunday, and things will keep rolling through the holidays. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned.